good, y'all? Dr.Trehunna. So we was all taught since little kids that being fat is quote unquote not good for you, right? And because we learned this at a young age, we started to think that, oh, okay, so if you're fat, that means you're more unhealthy. And because you're more unhealthy, you're going to die faster, all right? So today, what we're gonna cover is the 3 body types and why how much fat you got on your body doesn't dictate how metabolically healthy you are. It's how your fat is stored on your body. That's what determines everything, okay? So first things first, there's 3 different types of body types. There is endomorphs, there's mesomorphs, there's ectomorphs, okay? Ectomorphs, all right? Now, ectomorphs are the people that for some odd reason, they've always been skinny, they're scrawny, they can eat anything that they desire, and they just never seem to gain weight, okay? They can eat that whole pizza, they don't gain weight, all right? There's mesomorphs. Those are the people that always kind of quote-unquote been athletic, kind of quote-unquote always been curvy. The girl that you see, she never works out, but she still got, all the curves. Or the dude that you see that been dunking basketballs at 5th grade, right, naturally, okay? Those are mostly mesomorph type of people, right? And last but not least, there's endomorphs, okay? Endomorphs are people like me, all right? These are people who were very, very strong, right? We're able to get muscle fast, but guess what? If we're not paying attention to our diet, we're also getting fat faster than the average person, okay? Now, the greatest thing about it all is the average person is not just one set type. You're kind of like a mixture of 2, okay? So you're mostly of a ectomorph, which is skinny, and a mesomorph, which is, the people that can get big and strong. That's kind of like somebody like LeBron, right? And then there's mixtures that's like an endomorph and a mesomorph. And these are people like if you watch Game of Thrones, The Mountain, okay? They're big as hell, but they can get strong too. And if you lose the weight, you look good, okay? And ironically, a lot of women who usually are endomorphs, which is the quote unquote people that was big all their life, right? Or thick all their life. If you lose the weight, they got the best body types, all right? So at the end of the day, there's always some pros and cons to everything, okay? So if you're an endomorph like me, trust me, you're totally fine. We can go ahead and get this fat off, all right? So now, why does not how much fat you got in your body dictates it all? It's how your body stores the fat, all right? So believe it or not, there's a subset of people called HMO, which is metabolically healthy, obese people. So approximately like if you lined up 10 people that's quote unquote overweight or have a BMI of over 25, if you actually quote unquote look at how their fat is stored, right? They are healthy. They still got the telomeres, okay? The telomeres are basically like the cap of, or, like at the end of the shoestring, they got that little plastic point, right? And that basically allows the shoestring not to go ahead and frizzle up and all that, right? That's what telomeres do for the cells, okay? And what the telomeres length dictates is how long a cell lives. If the cells live longer, you live longer, okay? Your body consists of trillions of cells, okay? So if your cells die, you die, okay? So ironically, their telomeres, right? And these individuals, if you literally look at them, they look fat, they look quote unquote healthy, right? But they're gonna outlive you. Why? The type of fat they got on their body, okay? So there's 2 different types of fat. There is visceral fat, which is the fat that you do not see, okay? That's the fat inside, right? So, the people that you see that has a beer belly, right? And if you try to jiggle it, it can't jiggle, it's very, very hard. That's a lot of visceral fat. That's a lot of internal fat, okay? And then it's subcutaneous fat, the jiggly fat, okay? So when you think of like a sumo wrestler has a lot of subcutaneous fat. But ironically, if you look at majority of sumo wrestlers, they're quote unquote metabolically healthy. They don't have any medications, right? And they're not taking anything because they got a lot of subcutaneous fat. It's the type of fat they got on the body that matters about everything, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and break it down to you why this is the case, all right? The worst type of fat, believe it or not, is visceral fat, the fat that you do not see. So if you're somebody who, we all seen that person that, they can eat anything that they want, right? But then you start to notice when you about hit 25, 30, 40, you see the exact same people, they're still eating what they want. They're still not fat or big, right? They're probably getting like a couple pounds, 15 pounds, okay? They got into the grown women weight, right? But they're starting to get a pudge, right? Believe it or not, if you're starting to get pudgy, and you're skinny, that's a sign that you're starting to become metabolically unhealthy, okay? Just like if you were somebody who was big, right? And for some odd reason, your stomach's still always kind of been on the flatter side, but you kind of, you got curves everywhere else. You got a little back rolls here and there and all that, right? Believe it or not, you're gonna be, or quote unquote, healthier than them. Why? So when you start to accumulate a lot of visceral fat, there's something happening in your body called NAFLD, okay? And that's basically non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, okay? And what this basically means, your liver, first off, is the main energy pack, okay? It detoxifies everything in your body. It basically dictates if your body's gonna start be running off fat, right? And it basically controls if your body's gonna turn fat into glucose or turn glucose into fat, or what type of energy your body's basically using throughout the day, all right? Now, if you're somebody who's starting to get a pudge, what happens is your body is literally, or your organs, your internal organs starting to become dysfunctional. Long story short, I'm not gonna get scientific on y'all, okay? If your organs start to be dysfunctional, that means your organ's not doing its job as properly or as efficiently, okay? So what's happening is your muscles, right, and your liver and your heart or your pancreas, right, they're starting to become insulin resistant, which means your body's not really able to intake all the excess energy that you're providing to it. And not only is the type of energy, okay, it's the fact that the energy that you're providing it is basically corroding your body's system, okay? Which means your body has no other choice but to store it as fat. So the main causes for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is a lot of sugar, okay, coming really from fructose, right, and alcohol, all right? So fruits or fructose, alcohol. And ironically, when you think of fructose, you just think of majority of fruit, okay? Fructose is the molecule that makes, when you eat a lot of food or a lot of sweet things, it's the sweet part. That's fructose, okay? But it's coming from a lot of sodas too. If you actually look at majority of the processed foods that you eat or the sodas, you're gonna see, especially coming from drinks, you're gonna see the very first ingredient, high fructose corn syrup. All right. Now, just to give some insight on how crazy this syrup is, or just to give you an idea, when you actually look at the human physiology and the evolution of how much sugar that we was intaking, right? The human body was only taking approximately until about 1910, 4 pounds of sugar a year. 4 pounds of sugar a year, okay? That's not a lot. And just floating around in your bloodstream right now, you got about 5 grams of carbs or 1 teaspoon of sugar just floating around, okay? Through a process called gluconeogenesis, okay? But ironically, the average American nowadays eat at least 100 pounds of sugar a year. So that's a 25-fold, okay? Which means you're giving your body way more sugar than your body actually is, is able to handle. It's that simple, all right? And what's happening is, for the women that you see that have been skinny all their lives, right, but they got a little pudgy now, right? If you actually pay attention to their diet, I can guarantee you this: their main snack will always be fruit. Fruit, berries, mangoes, smoothies, here and there, okay? And because you're condensing the fruit, right, because a lot of women that I came to realize when they be on my journey or on my program, they eat a lot of fruit, right, through smoothies, right? So you're just throwing a banana in there, an apple in there, berries in there, some mangoes in there, right? And you're chopping it up, right? And it's easier for you to drink it, right? But the funny thing is, if we wasn't in America, if this wasn't 2022, right, how was you able to get all that fruit at that one time? You wasn't able to. Why? Because fruits are seasonal, right? So the fact that you're giving your body a lot of fruit nowadays, here and there, every single day, right? Now you're getting pudgy because your body is basically, your liver, long story short, is the only thing that can process your fruit, okay? So now you're getting a little bit fat, which means what? Now your body's gonna start to store a majority of its fat internally, which is the worst type of fat. That's gonna cause a lot of problems. That's why you see a lot of skinny people too. They can get type 2 diabetes too, just as somebody that's quote unquote bigger, all right? So the main points of this conversation, right? You can be somebody who's big, right? Because you're just genetically predisposed to becoming bigger or have a heftier body weight, right? But you can still be healthy, okay? So you being fat doesn't mean you're unhealthy. But in order for you to find out this for yourself, you have to, quote unquote, do some blood work. You gotta be doing your physicals, X, Y, Z, okay? If you are somebody that got a hemoglobin A1C test and is basically under 5, okay? But really about 5.3, you're good, okay? But if you're in the zone of 5.7 to 6.4 or higher, anything over 5.7, that means you're pre-diabetic. Anything over 6.4 means you're type 2 diabetic, okay? So make sure you know this information so when you are getting your blood test and getting your blood work done, you know that, hey, maybe I am quote unquote bigger, right? But I'm metabolically healthy. Okay, because that's all that matters. Because once again, you could be somebody that's bigger, right, and live longer. That's somebody that's skinnier, okay, that got a pudge. That determines everything, okay? Skinny fat is not the greatest thing, okay? So that's why I want y'all to understand that if you are eating the right type of things, right, not having a lot of sugar, at the end of the day, fruit is nature's desserts, okay? And you already know about alcohol, so we don't got to go into a whole spiel about alcohol, right? Then you are going to, quote unquote, be healthier, which means you're going to live longer, okay? So your body type is not going to dictate how long you're going to live in your entire life, okay? It's about what you're putting in your mouth, okay? Hopefully y'all learned something today, all right? You want to have the jiggly fat, okay? So don't curse that jiggly fat. You don't want the less of the visceral fat, all right? And that's your reset tip of the day. It's going to help you stay snatched all the time, not in the summertime.